Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight at our Connect groups. You sitting here in this room, going through this conversation together is really the heart, the mission, the vision of the church that we have here, what we really want to do, because we believe that growth in our faith, growth in our relationships, in real life all happen throughout the week. That's when we need each other, need to rely on each other. And that's what we do here in Connect groups, because Sunday mornings are great, but it's through the week that real life happens to us. So I want to say thanks for coming out tonight, and a quick shout out to our leaders and our hosts of our groups. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Because of your sacrifice, because of you doing this, we are able to accomplish the mission and vision of what we believe God has designed us to do here at the Heart. So thank you so much for doing that. If you missed church this past Sunday and haven't been able to listen to the podcast, I want to still encourage you to check out the podcast. But we're in the middle of a message series that we're doing at the Heart called The Giver. And we've been taking a journey through trusting God. And then this past week, we looked at what it means to have a heart of generosity. When we look at our God, we see generosity in the way He gives love, hope, grace, forgiveness, and everything else. So how can we have a heart of generosity the same way our God has a heart of generosity? And that's kind of what we dug into a little bit. And we looked at a piece of scripture in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 10 through 15. And I always want to encourage you to, if you guys there in the group want to read through that piece of scripture, you're more than welcome to look at a couple different versions and see how they differ and see what you guys think when it comes to that. But in this passage, we looked at a kind of a heart of generosity that Paul, the Apostle Paul, who wrote Corinthians and 2 Corinthians, is talking to the group in Corinth about. He's talking to them about generosity and how God is generous. God provides generosity. And through that generosity, if we can activate our spirit and receive the generosity that God has given us and use that generosity to serve others, use that generosity that we have been given to give to others, then there is blessings all around. The people that are being given to are blessed. We are blessed because we were able to be generous, and God is blessed because He is glorified through our generosity and people thanking Him for generosity. So everything flows the way God intends to when we can tap into that heart of generosity. So I want to start off tonight talking about, or you guys being able to discuss a question. So the first question tonight has to do with our generosity. And the question is simply this: why does God want us to be generous? Why would God need us to be generous? What can we gain from being generous in the way God has designed us to be? And what do others gain in our generosity when we are generous the way God has designed us to be? So why does God want us to be generous? What do we gain from being generous? And what about others? What do they gain when we are generous? So why don't you guys take a few moments tonight to talk that over and see what you guys come up with. All right, now the next question digs a little bit deeper when it comes to our generosity, yours in particular, your generosity. And what I want to know is, how does your generosity limit or grow what God can do in your life? See, I believe that we are all on different levels or degrees, if you will, of generosity. Some of us are very generous. Some of us are learning to be generous. Some of us aren't generous at all. So what I want to know from you is, how does your generosity, your level or your degree of generosity, how does that change what God can do in your life? How does that limit what God can do if you aren't generous? And if you're very generous, what does that make available for God to do in your life? So why don't you guys take some time to think that over, talk that through together. And I want to encourage you, if you have a thought, please shout it out. The more we talk through this together, the more we're going to learn, the more we're going to grow. And that's what this is all about, is taking this journey together, understanding what it all means together. That's how we really grow. So why don't you guys take some time to discuss that question with each other. All right, hopefully you guys had some great discussion there. I love the discussions I hear about throughout each week when it comes to these Connect groups, because sometimes it stays right on track with the questions, and sometimes you guys talk about so many other things, and I absolutely love that. That's the whole point of this, is to be on this journey wherever it takes us, but to be there together. So let's go ahead and do the last question for this evening. And the last question tonight, as always, is going to be a challenge for you to take into the week, because if what we're learning on Sunday is just for us to be smarter, then we're doing a terrible job at growing, because it's not about being smarter Christians, right? It's not about being smarter at following Jesus. It's about growing in our faith and taking steps with Jesus in our walk. So the challenge for this week, and what I want to ask you is, and I want you to share with the group, and I'd love for everyone to share on this. Again, you never have to share if you don't want to, but I'd love for everyone to share on this one. And it's, how are you going to be more generous this week? So whether you are someone who has a very difficult time being generous, or generosity comes easy to you, I want to know, how are you going to take whatever level you're at, and how are you going to be more generous? Maybe you can buy someone a taco that you don't know. Maybe you can bring a bunch of Starbucks to work, or Perk Up, or Mocha's, or Joe's, or whatever other coffee shops we have here in town. What can you bring? What can you take? What can you buy for someone? What can you do to be more generous this week? I want you guys to take some time to discuss that. And I love you guys so much. I hope to see you this Sunday. Remember, this Sunday we have 2 experiences, one at 9:30 and 11. Make sure if you have your friends that don't know yet that we have 2 experiences, let them know so they don't come super early, or they can come super early and have a great time. So we'll see you guys this Sunday at 9:30 and 11. Love you guys.